This is Marina with How I Got Here, and I'm here to introduce to you Inger Nordin, correct? Perfect. We met at a global women club and one of the virtual meetings for women, and I was very honored to be part of this amazing group. And thank you so much for being here, and I hope that this interview right now will help a lot of women in your generation to understand that it's never too late.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me, Marina.
Absolutely. I'm so honored. I never thought I would be doing this, but I meet so many great, amazing people. I'm like, let me just put them on my podcast and have everybody else, even if it's not to, hey, I don't really need this, but everybody learns from it. And it's actually very, very inspirational. And thank you so much for it. So I'm going to read it so that I don't forget. You're a best-selling author, a life and business coach, and according to some, a money management strategist. I will definitely use that. You help women step into their power financially, personally, and professionally without compromising their femininity, which is huge these days, or I guess generally in life. And the motto is, which is my favorite, it's never too late to start over. I did it at 65. What's your excuse?
Thank you.
I love it. This is literally why I do what I do, because there is no excuse.
No.
Well, listen, we can start with my first question. How did you do it? And I know that, right now, when you're talking about it, at 65, honestly, most people just break.
Yeah, and they do like my brother-in-law said, why can't you just relax and sit watching the television or things? But I'm not the kind of person that is feeding the pigeons from a park bench, right?
Listen, exactly. That's what I keep telling everybody else. I'm like, look, we could just settle down and just work for somebody, do 9 to 5, but there's more to us. Like something in the back of our heads just keeps saying, no, we got to keep going. We got to keep doing it. Tell everybody who's going to be listening to this a little bit about yourself. How did you do it? What were your obstacles?
Well, I actually retired at 65. I'd been working all my life in corporate and, according to a lot of people, I was really successful. I've done everything. You can ask me, I've done it. So I've been a manager, I've been a driver for the CEO, and I've been all over the place, project manager and things like this as well. But when I retired, I was like, is this all there is? Isn't there anything else? It needs to be something else, because I was kind of feeling so, what should you say? I think I felt stressed about not doing anything, because I was used to be in the middle of everything. So I was like, how am I fitting in now? Where am I going now? And things like this. So I actually went to a seminar with For Success Resources. Have you heard of them?
No.
It's a global training company, if you like, one of the biggest ones. Oh, wow. And I went to a seminar called Millionaire Mind Intensive.
Okay.
And it was not only to do with money, but that was some of it. But what I realized was that there was so much more you can experience in life.
Right.
So I actually signed up for something called Quantum Leap. That was 5 courses, different courses. And I sold my car to do it.
Oh, wow.
Because I think, I felt like this is so worth it. So selling my car was not an obstacle at all. Because having a car in the middle of Stockholm, have to turn around, trying to find a parking spot.
Yeah, that's true.
Crazy. So what I then did was go through those courses, and through those courses, a lot of people said to me, well, I have to say on the camps, I was the oldest one. But through those courses, people came up to me and said, well, you need to step up because people need to see you. You need to be visible so you can be the inspiration you are to us.
Right.
So that actually changed my mindset, if you like. And also I realized there was so much more I could do. People had told me all my life that you should work as a having your own company and things. And I was like, no, I like to have workmates.
Right.
And I like to meet people.
Right.
So I'm not to do that. But then having realized that what I can do in my own company, having kind of come to the insight that I can provide so much more from me to people instead of having a company that I provide a service they have to people.
Mm-hmm.
So during all my working life, I never stopped once thinking about what is in my mind.
Right.
What can I do? Even if I always were kind of a mentor and things for newcomers. And I actually really did do that. People could, when they started working, they had someone to turn to. When I was manager, I made sure that they never went out on an assignment by themselves. They always went with someone more experienced so they could build their own confidence, if you like.
Right, right, right.
But that was then, and now is now.
Right.
So I actually, well, it took some time, I must admit. I loved the travel I was on, the journey, if you like. And I learned a lot about self-development, business development, but it took some time before I actually started my own business. And actually it was 2020 when everybody else was scared. I felt
Same
like,
here.
yeah, I felt
Yeah.
like this is really the time to focus.
Exactly.
So I wrote my book, The Power You Square, Create a Power Path of Success, Personal and Professionally. And that is written on what I've experienced in life, but also from what I've picked up on all the trainings I've gone through.
Right.
And then reflecting back to what I've done.
Right.
And I started the company and I realized that is not so easy.
No, it's not.
Finding a company name and finding that is not occupied and a lot of things like this. And I've also gone through trainings with SEAL Stanford at Advanced Coaching and Leadership Center. And I realized that I could actually help people by just using what she taught.
Right.
And that was, what is this? Can I do that? No, I said to myself. And then she said, you see, you can do it. And I got so much testimonials from people saying that I changed their lives.
Right.
And I mean, for me, that was a trigger that I should do this more.
Right.
So that is one of the things. The other thing is that not only did I write the book in 2020, released it in 2021,
Wow.
I also wrote a chapter in Tap Into Your Power. That Global Woman kind of was the editor. And there I actually shared something I've never shared with people around me before, not even my closest friends. I wrote a chapter about the hidden strength of vulnerability.
Right.
And also reflecting back on why did I end up where I did? What was happening?
Really
And I think that is really something that is needed nowadays. Reflection, sit down and be with yourself.
What would you say about the hidden strength and the vulnerability? Because I found my strength when I was most vulnerable, but it spiritually destroyed me from all the toxicity. And because you're a go-getter, because you know there's more to you, you have a purpose. Obviously, you're not gonna, commit a suicide or anything. But I did have those thoughts. But because we're go-getters, we got to where we are today. And even though it may not be 100% yet, at least in my situation, right? Because I'm also growing, but I'm glad that I'm already where I am. So what would you recommend to women or anybody in this situation when it comes to not being afraid of being vulnerable when it comes to you.
I actually listened to recording from a guy that is a famous coach in Sweden, and he talked about vulnerability. Vulnerability is what you need to do to being vulnerable, I mean. And let's see if I can actually find what I wrote down from what he said, because that was so interesting. I can't find it, of course. Anyhow, he said that managers today need to open up and be more vulnerable, because then they can have people follow them and be able to be more vulnerable, so they can get a good working climate. And when he said that, and mind you, he's coaching the top managers in Sweden, CEOs, etc., on companies. He said, it's so interesting to see how people grow when you show that you are vulnerable. So don't be afraid about that. That is actually building your authenticity. How do you say that in English? Oh, authenticity.
Yes, authenticity.
Yeah, but and also the basis for getting good relationships.
But that's 100% true. And I don't think they understand the beauty of it.
Mm.
They think if they're tough, you know, the employees are going to work harder. I'm like, no, that's not how that goes. And that's a very, very good point.
Mm. And I really was kind of listening to this because I showed my vulnerability and I got a really good things back.
Right.
And also having this kind of integration with people. I would love to add something to what he said, and that is be present with the person you are with. Don't try to be somewhere else. I mean, there is so much in presence. So if you are present with someone, really there with them, they realize it, and you get so much better relationships. And I didn't think about that so much when I was working in sales, but being present with people have made me have lifetime friends, actually, from people I sold to.
Yes, yes.
So it's kind of interacting in very many different ways.
Mm-hmm. People just have to be open to it and not be afraid to accept, because we're not raised that way. We were always raised to be strong and to do the right thing and to do what everybody else is doing. And when you open up, people are like, oh my God, I could relate to it too.
Yeah, that's so true. And also, if you see about being present, if you're not present, how many times nowadays people are online and they do something else?
Yes.
So they're not really there.
Yes.
And also I mean, now when everything has opened up, we have never been totally closed down in Sweden, but around the world, there is so much that has opened up. So people are kind of so in a rush to do a lot of things instead of stopping up and thinking and being there in the moment.
Right. I hope people generally will start changing towards living in the moment, because this is old school mentality. We live in the moment because we didn't have all this technology. We didn't have anything back then. So we understand what's precious. People who are born with a laptop or a tablet or an iPhone, they don't know. This is their moment. Without a phone, they can't concentrate.
Yeah, I have a favorite picture in my book, actually, with two kids sitting back to back with their mobile phones. And
yes.
And they think they are connected, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's actually a picture that speaks 1,000 words. There we go.
Yeah. And also one other thing I heard from one of my mentors, she said she had 4 ladies that met up for lunch, and they had these regular meetings. And then at one of those lunches, one of the girls took up a book. The other ones had already taken up their mobile phones. But when she took up the book, they said, oh, you're not present with us.
Oh, wow.
That is good to remember, right?
Right.
So we have a kind of level where we think we are present. We think we are present when we have our mobile phones.
Exactly. Yeah, no, mobile phones are a huge distraction. And I think that's one of the reasons. I don't know if people became, like I said, listen, it's the generation, it's how you're raised and how, where, in what generation you're born. They don't know what they don't know. They have never experienced it. We never had cell phones to go to. We never I never even had a phone in my mom's house growing up. We used to go to grandmother's house to call somebody. So we communicate, and back then we actually communicated more without phones than now with phones.
Yeah, and also what you did before, you kind of gathered playing a game or something, a board game, or you did things together as a family. One thing that I really appreciate my niece did, she actually had every Friday, they banned all mobile phones.
Oh, wow.
Every Friday evening, that was family time.
Nice.
And I think that is something that people should actually go for.
I mean, I'm Jewish, so the religious families, they remove all technology from Friday night to Saturday night every week. So they do not work. Like, my sister, Elena, she's married to a religious husband. She's religious herself. So she will respond to us if there's like an emergency or use a phone, but generally, no, she does not work. And she actually told me that is the best thing that happened to her because she's a workaholic.
Yeah,
but
figures.
Yes, she's a workaholic, and like her husband watches the kids every Monday night. You could hear them scream in the background sometimes, I know. And that's an inspiration in its own, because she makes time for her family and business and doesn't stop because she knows her goal.
Yeah, and that's so important as well. Know what you want and really focus on it. Right? Take persistent actions towards your goal. And remember the importance of the environment. Because everybody says 5 people, the 5 people you are around with most are the ones that is actually impacting you most.
Of course.
So maybe you should get rid of some of the toxic ones. And I mean, it's not like when I have started my travel now, some of the ones I used to go to school to, I have to kind of let go. And not let go in that I say, I'm not going to be with you. Let go in the sense that I'm not there with them all the time. So I choose the ones I want to be with.
I think like eventually when you're on your path, it's going to happen regardless. I mean, it depends in what situation. But before I started what I wanted to do in my life, my toxic people that were keeping me behind finally were out of my life. So I was able to think clearly. It wasn't easy to get rid of people that you're live with.
No.
So it's not easy. I remember one of my managers used to say, get rid of the toxic people if they're holding you back. But I'm like, how can I do that if they're living with you?
Yeah.
So eventually it just so worked out that that person walked out of my life, and that was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. And it's like a cloud left, and I was like, okay, fine, finally I could actually think for myself. And everyone else were irrelevant because they were people I worked with, or because my circle is very loyal. It's limited, but it's loyal, and they have huge integrity. And if it's not integrity, I'm not interested in talking to you or being around people, because it's so important. People like us are willing to go a mile, hundreds of miles for somebody to help out. But if you don't have any integrity, then I'm not going to do anything. I might just be like, hey, listen, call this number and call it a day. That's it.
And it's not only, it's authenticity together with integrity. Because
exactly.
That is what matters most, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Actually, when I was working in corporate, they talked a lot about that you were responsible for things.
Right.
And then I said, responsibility has to come with accountability, and also with that you can actually have the power to decide within your area.
Right.
And they said, what?
One question about your book when it comes to finances. How do you help people get to where they want to get financially?
I'm not a financial advisor. What I do is I help them get a grip of where they are now.
Right.
Because that is the first step, right?
Right.
You know to where you are and how to follow that up every week. I follow up my economy every Sunday.
Oh.
And I have what I need to follow up on. So if you don't have a grip on your economy, you can't invest, you can't do anything.
Right.
You just let the money slip through your fingers. And I did that all my life when I was working corporate. I had a really huge salary. I never set anything up for doing anything else. And
Right.
that is one of the things in the seminar I attended, the Millionaire Mind Intensive. They talk about the money jar system. And I'm also discussing that in my book, how you are to set aside 10%
Right.
on investment that you are not to use at all. You just use what you get as a return on that investment. 10% for this, 10% for this, etc. And that in that way you make things visible, right?
Right. That's important. Actually, in Judaism, one of my religious friends, she used to teach me that for our Jewish people, we have to put aside 10%, but give it to the poor. Because when you give away, you invest, God will give you more because you're supposed to help. But whatever it is, I think people, when we do something with our money, it gives us the accountability and responsibility to understand what we have and what we could do with it. Not just, get the checks and go spend it and waste it, whatever, because we've been there.
Yeah.
Done it.
Yeah.
The checks are coming in, your bosses love you, you start spending money, but eventually you're like, well, what do we do now? So.
Yeah, that's so important. So it's well worth to think about it. It's well worth to know where you are now and then take advices, not from financial advisors, I would say, because they sell products, right?
Right.
But look around you, you'll find someone that's really good.
I mean, listen, I hope everybody, comes to you because you teach the simple things that we're not taught in schools. I have 2 college degrees and I have never had a class that I had to take no matter what it was. And I have a business management and finance degree.
Oh, yeah.
And we sat down and they were like, well, this is what you do with your money. They talk about investing or they talk about, business ethics or pre-calculus classes that have nothing to do with what you actually need in life to succeed.
And also what you said, in my mind, kids in school should be taught finances.
Absolutely.
Because then they can actually do a difference for their own lives. I would recommend people to read, it's a really, really old book, over 100 years old. And it's kind of not the wordings you would use today.
Right.
But it's really, really good. And it talks a lot about competition, not compete, but cooperate. With what it is, the science of getting rich.
Oh, okay.
Have you read it?
No.
No.
I haven't heard of it. I haven't read it.
I had a book study together with a guy around that book. Wallace D. Wattles is his name. And that is kind of, I think you need to read it several times to understand. Because what we actually did in the book study, we took one chapter at a time.
Oh.
And that was kind of, then people discussed it amongst themselves. And then they came up with, what did this mean for me?
Right.
So that's a good word.
Listen, I like reading books. I don't read them as much as I want to, but I like them. I sometimes, if I don't have time because I'm always driving around or, you're busy with your schedule, you listen to audiobooks and that actually calms me down because you learn so much from it as well. And there's a lot, like you said, there's so much more to life than what we've been conditioned to believe and conditioned to do, that you don't realize until you're stuck somewhere and you're just like, okay, now where do I go? Like you said, you did it at age 65, and during the pandemic, that was your wake-up call.
Yeah.
Because there was more to you. And the funny part is that until you retired and until pandemic happened, right? You did it. I don't think you would have actually done something with your life because you've been so busy working clock counter.
Yeah. You worked and worked and worked and
right.
worked.
You didn't have time because it's the system. It's designed like that. You didn't have time for yourself at all. You will never have time. It's not how it works. So until everybody was stuck at home, and until whatever, depending on different situations, you can't really do much. But I know, like, in the back of your mind, I mean, it was like that in my mind. Every time I would go work for somebody, I would be like, is this it? Is there nothing else? And even though right now, currently, I'm still working for somebody, but that's like until I'm fully where I need to be. And then I'm out.
And that's so good, Marina, to hear that.
Right.
Because I mean, it's so important that you are reflecting on your life and do it when the time is right.
What would you recommend to the women that are in your situation?
In my situation, or that were in my situation?
Yes. Well, were in your situation, like, what would you recommend to anybody who's hoping or wanting to start over?
First of all, find someone you trust as a mentor, because then you can discuss things, because you need to come to a conclusion what you really want to do. And one of the things I've done with people is to really get them to realize what they really want to do.
Right.
And then celebrate every baby step you take on the way. Because celebration is kind of doing something with our minds, right?
Right.
And don't let your mind take you out of this. I heard someone say, we have a police in our minds saying, no, don't do this, don't do this.
Right.
But I say instead, you have your, there are 60,000 thoughts turning around every day in your mind, most of them on repetition.
Right.
So what's happening is that if you want to do something that your mind is not kind of in line with, because they haven't heard it before, you need to calm your mind down and say, hang on, I know what I'm doing.
Right.
So it's a lot about mindset. So getting your mind adjusted to what you want to do is really important. Because I mean, there are so many different situations. And one of my harder things was to take payment from my friends, because all of them wanted help.
Right.
But how do you take payment from your friends?
You just got to.
Yeah, you do. Otherwise, you don't have a business.
Exactly. You have, and also your friends have to understand that it's how you live now.
Yeah.
It's a business. So if they go anywhere else, whether they like it or not, they're gonna have to pay.
Yeah, so true. And that is something you need to value yourself and take payment. So that is one of the things I would recommend people to do as well. Because if you are undervaluing yourself, people will not turn to you. Because why should they? You don't think you're worth it.
Exactly. I know. So that's actually one of the major reasons why I wasn't successful before. I mean, I wouldn't call myself a failure because I was learning and constantly, I was too busy helping everybody else as opposed to helping myself. So until I was free from all that, I was like, what am I doing? At like age 33, I believe, with 2 small kids. And I was like, now where my life is supposed to go? What am I supposed to do to my kids? So until I realized that whole brainwashed mindset that I had, that you always have to, the woman, we're the nurturers. We're conditioned to help others, put everybody else first. And then maybe if we have time, nobody cares, because at the end of the day, when morning starts, you still cater to somebody else. So it was so hard for me to rewire my brain to be like, well, what about me? It's like people will call you selfish, but you're like, no, I'm not selfish. But if I am, it's because I'm trying to protect myself. So it's kind of hard. So yeah, if I didn't value myself, how can everybody else value me? Right.
Yeah.
But then again, I always say that in my toughest times, I always had integrity to respect others. So if I don't value myself, but I'm helping you, I think you should respect that enough to at least appreciate that somebody else is doing something for you.
Yeah.
Right. I think that was the hardest part for me to move forward, because I was like, well, why can't the person just be grateful for the things that you do for them, as opposed to making yourself feel like, well, I'm something's wrong with me. You're kind of like self-doubting yourself, like why do I have to change if you don't have integrity? Right.
And then a lot of people have imposter syndrome, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I have to be, if I'm not doing this, if I'm doing this, oh, there's so many other things around, so many other coaches or whatever that are so good. They are much better than I am.
Right.
But people relate to different kinds of people.
Yes.
And I have to reflect back to what you said about females serving.
Right.
Because that is the way we are brought up, right?
Yes.
I remember my grandma had her birthday on the 6th of January, and we were there, all of us. And well, after dinner, what happened? Everyone, females that is, went to the kitchen, did the washing up and things like this.
Yes.
And the male was in
Yes.
the right. And it's so crazy. It's so crazy because, I mean, if I go to a party or whatever, I say, hang on, guys, come on, you help out here. You do this as well. So that's the way we can teach other people around us that service is not only for females.
Exactly. I mean, in my household, we teach men to do something because it's just so important. But like majority of the older generation women, they're just like, no, it's okay,
Yeah,
he's my baby, he needs to blah 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 blah. You're just like anything could happen. A person should know how to help themselves or appreciate the person in their life. It's not supposed to be just you do it because my mother does it.
yeah.
It's just, I think it's like, it's not even about doing things for, let's say, your wife or your girlfriend or whatever. It's about doing something that for you have to be happy knowing that this is who you are. You're working, you're helping, you're supporting, you're providing, or like you're appreciating. It makes you feel good as a person. And that's part of the reason why we grow as people, because you're not just relying completely on somebody else. You're constantly growing. That's important because it starts from your home. We're talking about simple things like cleaning and helping the woman out as opposed to making her do it. But the concept behind it is different.
And also, if you do that, if you teach your kids that they have to keep their rooms kind of tidy, they have to help out and things, they are then a better growing person when they move from home. They can handle themselves.
I mean, now it's a war zone. My kids are 8 and 10, but
fully understand.
Yes. I don't have to tell, I just have to tell you the age. But yes, that's always, I always teach my children, you do it because you respect yourself. You're not doing it because you're making me happy. Of course, you should make me happy, but you should do it because it has to be, it's your energy. It's where you sit. It's where you grow.
And I actually see it now. My niece's kids, she has 3 boys and 1 girl. The girl is doing all the cleaning. And that's crazy. In today's world, she is kind of looking after that everything is sorted out and things. And the boys like, bonk.
Yes. I know families like that, and I just can't. It's actually very hurting to see that. And eventually it's just, those are the karmic cycles that are continuing from one generation to the next.
Yeah.
that's why it takes that long to grow and to find yourself, because I always tell people, you're not here to clean. You didn't come into this world to be a cleaning lady. Even if you're a cleaning lady for now, it's for now. What else can you do what did you come into this world with to share with people? Look at how many things that you've been doing. You published a book. 2020 had to happen for you to publish a book.
Yeah, and stop going on all the courses I did, because I love to learn new things.
Right.
That's my driving force for everything. But I mean, I had to have this year of 2020 to really focus, right?
Right.
Do something on what I've been taught.
Exactly. And I hope that every person can find themselves as well as you have. And you're right. I love your motto. It's never too late. I did it at 65. What's your excuse, right? It really is like that. And I'm so proud that I've met you. And I'm so honored that, trust me, you are an inspiration. I'm so happy that I'm on this path and I'm meeting the right vibrational type of people. We can learn so much from each other. It's good to know that someone like you exists. When I'm ready, I'm going to be on my phone already. Okay, Inger, I'm right here. Let's do this.
Thank you. I appreciate being here with you, Marina, and your openness and your authenticity. That's a big authenticity.
No, but thank you so much. I mean, listen, I do it from my heart. I love people as well. Like I said, I have an incredible team that whatever we're doing, it's for the greater good of the humanity, because God knows we need help. We need to help each other, and people should know about, what's being offered. So I will definitely put all your information in the description box so that people can know and find you. And listen, we'll always keep in touch.
Will do.
That's it. You have no choice. That's it. I'm going to be bothering you.
That's no bother. That's no bother.
I know, but thank you so much. I love that.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.